Corey, what's more surprising here? Josh Sweat like becoming quasi-household name or like our guy Mann? The other night, Terance Mann, they were coming back from commercial break on one of these telecasts, and it's like, we're going to go to the court and interview a coach or a player, like not Kawhi, not Paul George or Luke Kennard or I don't know whoever, but like they're interviewing Terance Mann, and he's playing the Lakers the other night on TNT as well. Or the fact that like Josh Sweat is emerging. This is me trying to segue us into basketball somewhat.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to basketball in a second, but yeah, I don't think anybody's like tuned in. Like, let's break down that travesty. It's close, man. It's funny. I wrote a story about Terance Mann for his senior day because he came in with Dwayne Bacon and Malik Beasley, and the premise of the story was he came in as the other guy. Like it was Bacon and Beasley, and then the other guy. And I even wrote, I think my lead was like, he's not going to be a first-round pick. He's not going to be an all-time leading scorer. He's not finishing with, averaging 20 points a game. He's not going to be a first-round pick. And apparently, my man CY, Charlton Young, cut out the story and gave it to T-Man and circled it. It's like, this guy doesn't believe in you. You still don't. And I'm like, no, it was a puff piece. It wasn't a puff piece. I mean, it was a good column. It was ripping at the heartstrings about what Terance Mann has meant to Florida State basketball, and all I said was he wasn't going to be a first round pick. CY kept saying that I said he wouldn't play in the NBA, so he's telling Terance Mann that I said he can't play in the NBA.
Nuance,
so when Terance Mann has a breakout year, CY's like, yeah, and you're the one that said, he wasn't doing it rudely, but he's like, you're the one that said he couldn't even play in the NBA. And I'm like, see why you're wrong. And then I showed him on my phone. This is what I wrote. I said he wasn't going to be a first-round pick, and you know what? See why he wasn't. So where are my flowers, buddy? Anyway, big win for Missouri on the road. CY and Dennis Gates got a nice win at Ole Miss on Tuesday night. But I would still say Josh Sweat, to answer your question. Again, that's weird. I brought him up on headlines. Like, has there ever been a player – I was trying to think about this in any sport that – did less at Florida State that became so good at the next level? I don't know that I can think of one that rivals him. Like he's
Brooks Koepka. I don't
know. No, I mean Koepka was great here. I don't know if there's something that rivals him because he did diddly poo at Florida State. And I shouldn't say that. He made plays, but he wasn't special.
I say that because I bring this up, Corey, because our guy Khalil Young was commenting on headlines on YouTube and was like, you guys act like Josh Sweat was a bum. Not a bum, but like you guys act like he wasn't any good. And it's like, well, he wasn't great, though. I don't even know if you could say he was good. Like he was adequate, it seemed like. He was an adequate defensive end. But I know he had a severe knee injury, but coming in with the high, lofty rankings that he had, I mean, what signature play does he have? What signature game does he have in a Florida State?
I think the Delaware State game, he had 4 sacks, something like that.
That was Kano.
Oh, that was Kano. That's right. I forget him confused. Yeah. That's how what Josh Sweat. I thought he had like a Kano career. I mean, look, he was better, and he dealt with some injuries, especially coming out of high school. But his last year, it was never anything that he certainly wasn't. He didn't jump off the field like 5. Right. In 11 last year, like he didn't look anything like, in my opinion, like Jermaine Johnson or Jared Verse. He wasn't a difference maker. And now he's one of the best players on maybe the best team in the NFL. Yep. Like he made the Pro Bowl last year, and this year he had a better year. I think he had he had 11 or 12 sacks. He had 16 and a half tackles for loss on a great defensive line. I mean, he's legit. I'm willing to bet he had more sacks this year for the Eagles than he had as an entire career at Florida State. That was my point. Is he's become like a Pro Bowl type player, an All-Pro caliber type player.
Eighth highest graded defensive end on PFF in the NFL.
Out of 100, out of 64 starting defensive end, he's number 8. That's crazy. He wasn't 8th best in the ACC. Now, you can say he wasn't coached up well. I'm not going to argue with that. He wasn't unleashed. Maybe he was still worried a little bit about the injury. I think he kind of was, actually. But it's been – and look, this isn't to lament what he didn't do at Florida State
right.
as much it is to celebrate what he's doing at this level, man. He got an opportunity. He was drafted much more on potential than production, and he has made himself a very good to great NFL football player and is going to make a ton of money. And it's awesome to see. Apparently, he's a really cool guy. We barely got to talk to him. He built computers in his spare time. We didn't know that because back then we didn't get to talk to players. So we didn't know anything like that. But it's an awesome story. It's a cool story about a guy that, I don't know how else to phrase it. He was a disappointment at Florida State compared to his ranking and what we thought he was going to be. But then he comes out and has this kind of NFL career. It's awesome. It's, again, not lamenting as much as celebrating a guy that really found his path and has become a fantastic player.
Different circumstances, but maybe a Lavernius Coles. Lavernius Coles had a pretty solid NFL career.
He did. That's a good comparison. Yeah, because he didn't do. Now he was a starter on a national championship team until Dillard's, but so he was a player. But yeah, he wasn't. He didn't. We didn't know he was going to be that. He turned into a All-Pro, I think, a receiver, and he was always the number 2 or number 3 guy at Florida State at best. He was just the guy that ran really fast. But he wasn't thought of as a future NFL star, and that's kind of what he became.